Okay, so I'm going to show you a demo here of how RDQM allows you to have a 3-quorum queue manager running to provide high availability. So you see here I have 3 different servers, RDQM1, 2, and 3. Each one of them has had MQ installed and has been set up with the basic RDQM infrastructure, as you see here, going back in the history on that server. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the queue managers, and to do that you need to create them with this SSS command, and it's going to be done on the secondary queue managers first. So I'm starting here on RDQM3 to create that one, and then I'll switch over and do the same thing on RDQM2 server. So once that has been done and the secondary queue managers are created, then I go back to my primary instance, and this is where I'm going to create the primary queue manager. And this I'm going to also specify the port here as 1500. Okay, so it is creating the queue manager, and it has enabled the replicated data queue manager. So now I can check the status, see that it is running, and that as the primary on the RDQM1 instance, the 2 and 3 are the backup instances at this point. You can also check the status by logging into the other servers and issuing the same command. Now in this case I'm going to change it by making the RDQM2 the preferred instance. What that's going to do is move the traffic from the 1 over to the 2, and you can see now when I check it shows that it is running elsewhere. So it is running now on the QM2 server by setting it as preferred. So that's one way you can switch from one to the other to designate which one you want to be preferred. If you were, for example, installing FixPack on one of them, then you would be able to move the traffic from one to the other as you did that work. Okay, so for the next example here, I'm putting it back to primary on after I've on the QM1 instance. Okay, so here I'm going to suspend the queue manager on RDQM1. This will automatically route the traffic over to the second instance as well. So when you check the status again, you'll see that it's switched over because the primary node is now in a standby instance, standby mode. Okay, so once you resume it, go back and check the status, it's resumed back. So those are the administrative commands you can use to switch between the different instances of the queue manager from the node that you want it to be the primary. Okay, so now I'm going to do some sample programs to put messages onto the queue. I'm going to start the get on the RDM Queue Manager 1. I'll also go over log on the other instance and start the get program there as well. So I'm setting up the server here for the so that the channel is known by the sample program. Okay, so I've started putting the messages from the third instance, and you see they're all going to the instance one there, which is the primary. That's where the messages are being received. Now I'm going to go and put it into another instance of the RDQM2 to make it the primary. Okay, so now you'll see starting to get some reconnects here in the background. So as RDQM2 instance becomes a primary, the messages are still going to be processed, but what you'll see is when you go over and look on the RDQM1 instance, let's look at the status. You can see now that it is running on RDQM2. But when we look at the one instance where we were doing the GET, we're able to see that it did a reconnection here. And it only took a matter of milliseconds for it to reconnect. Like 77 milliseconds for the reconnect. So although the queue manager is now running on RDQM2, the sample program was still able to communicate with it. This time it's using the second location that I had specified in the MQ server environment variable.